Good morning, everyone. My name is Irene Hayden. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Building and Civil Engineering, and I'm going to give you a short presentation now on visual pedagogies for online learning. Pedagogy involves the method and practice of teaching. In my teaching area and in my research, I have explored visual pedagogy, which is the field of study and research with images. The basic definition of visual literacy is the ability to read, write, and create visual images. So I was keen to explore that in my teaching practice. I focus primarily on online learning for my research, and in terms of how that's done, learning artifacts are often done in terms of mode and medium. The mode there's 5 different mode types. Mode is a means of communication. So I was focusing, for research I've done up until now on visual. It could encompass some of the others as well, of course, depending on how you go about doing it. In terms of medium, the medium is a substance through which communication is conveyed. So the medium, there I have icons representing things like YouTube, photography, film, immersive environments such as virtual reality, theatre, podcasts, textual communication, which have a visual aspect to them, painting, art, graphics, cartoons, animations, social media, and so on. Things that I've used as well in teaching practice would have been, PowerPoint is a visual media. Stop motion, I've also used AutoCAD and Revit. Now, when I started to research this area, I found that when I combined visual pedagogies, the keyword search, with online learning, there was very little literature available. While there was some, it is evolving. So it is an area that anyone who was interested in doing research on could contribute new knowledge to. There's lots of opportunity for further research in this area in a lot of different disciplines. If you find yourself in a position where I was, where I felt I was looking at something a little bit novel, and how could I then assess it or evaluate its effectiveness? And it's a bit of a conundrum as to how to go about doing that. I was fortunate in that I've been learning with Lancaster University, and Professor Murray Saunders happened to have lectures with him, and he is an advocate for all sorts of evaluation processes and is highly published and researched in that area. And I followed one of the processes he pointed out called developmental evaluation, and then looked to incorporate that into my research. Started to evolve in these processes. And I've come up with a way that I could assess or evaluate the novel pedagogy that I was trying to use. And so this is an infographic, if you like, just looking at how this can be shown. And I start really by looking at visually what I was wanting to evaluate and what was necessary for a particular course that I was running, which was a continuing professional development course online for professionals in their field. So to use a construction analogy, the online course would not have been executable with the foundation or the bottom row first being in place. That facilitated the teaching and learning to happen, reflecting an upward build order hierarchy. So the course and curriculum design, I had to be mindful of where I was in that context, the management of the course, including advertising, recruiting, teaching and learning and assessing and giving out qualifications at the end, and the award process, in what way I was giving out a certificate from the college, and it was related to lifelong learning or continuing professional development learning, and the mechanisms necessarily for that aren't already in place as such. So I had to be careful and very mindful and reasoned in my choice of words and how those things were done, and I used certificates and digital badges for anyone who wanted them of the course participants that I was using for my research. The teaching and learning, of course, was the most important or the most significant factor in evaluating the execution of the novel pedagogy I was exploring. The assessment of competence in the particular area I was looking at was my end goal, but there wouldn't have been anything accessible without some teaching and learning happening first. So that's reflected in the number hierarchy, the 1, 2s and 3s in the slide. I'll just show you an example of a final assessment. In terms of mode, it looked at visual and spatial modality. In terms of the media that I used, I actually used 3D media with 360 views from Autodesk, Revit, and used QR codes as well, printed QR codes for people to be able to scan and use mobile phones or mobile technologies to be able to look at the assessment. What I call this was a visual, immersive, authentic competence assessment. Because it was for professionals in that setting, I had a very high pass rate. I used an 80% pass rate based again on research and best practice. It was adjudicated using a rubric which online participants also contributed to. So that was interesting and actually very worthwhile to explore that side of it as well. For lifelong learning and adult learning, there has to be a dialogue, and the feedback I gave was formative and summative. So again, that helped with the learning curve, both for myself and for the online participants. This is a video through a 3D immersive assessment or visual assessment. And again, to an untrained eye, you might find some faults in it. To a trained eye, actually between this video and the next video, there are actually 21 faults in it. And I set this assessment up on Moodle using QR codes and a link to which could be used on a PC. So someone could use their mouse to scroll up and down and around. And the exercise was for online participants to list all the faults they could find in terms of building regulation faults on the particular exercise. Now, the feedback on this type of an assessment or this method of learning was very positive from online participants. And like all good research, it shouldn't stop, it should continue. And where will this evolve and take us? I've been fortunate in that I was facilitated through the Teaching and Learning Office to access funds late last year, early the beginning of this year, to look at putting that towards a website for teaching and learning, which is available and as a resource for everyone to use through the CUA. And we can definitely open to talking with people and working on this in groups and seeing how we can evolve this. I did a screen capture of the video just to look at, the website rather, to just show you how it's looking at the moment. I haven't had much time actually since May time to be able to work on it, so my intention is in the new year to pick up where I left off and to finish off some of the executables from this, which would have been the idea behind it would be that we would be able to build a repository of online material that is appropriate for the built environment, which is the area I would teach in, and to be able to share resources among lecturing staff across all of the 5 campuses of GMIT and across the CUA. And I'm also in discussions with professionals and industry representatives from at least kind of 12 different companies who have online resources that they're willing to share with the college, and we can design our own assessment processes and certify it, through cpdlearnonline.ie. Thank you for watching my presentation. If you want to discuss anything with me, or maybe have a Teams talk to get on board and join in, I'd love to hear from you. My email address is there. You can get a hold of me that way. Thank you very much.